Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Stepping Up to the Plate. So glad you could join us for another half hour of scintillating sports talk here on the dais. Happy to be joined by my main man, Al Prizzuti, and both of us are a little bit concerned right now. You know, the Celtics and the Bruins, the way they've been going, all of a sudden hit a bit of a rough patch.
And the Red Sox.
And the Red Sox, too, after a great, start to the spring. But, what does that mean right now? We don't know.
Nothing.
And then you've got impending NFL free agency, and a lot of big names are on the move, including one quarterback who could change the complexion of the race here in the AFC East. And what are the Patriots doing? As far as I know, Al, they're sitting on their hands right now, But
they lost
Jacoby Myers to the Las Vegas Raiders,
Yeah, which I think is, he was their best receiver for 3 years. So I don't know. He's got to have something coming up here, or the Jones is going to have nobody to throw to.
Unbelievable. They got to go out and get guys. And then, you look at the New York Giants acquiring Darren Waller, a big tight end out of Vegas. I think that guy is going to be a game changer for them, for Daniel Jones, who the Giants have extended. And then the big fish in New York, Aaron Rodgers, evidently is going to go to the Jets. He hasn't made it official. He's been leaking it out in dribs and drabs, and pen has not been put to paper. But all odds are looking like Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets. Unbelievable.
Well, it just makes him a better team. The problem is he's 39 too. He's not a kid.
No.
But he makes them a better team because he's better than all three of the quarterbacks that they had last year.
Well, let me tell you, Al, they have some good components around him.
Oh, yeah.
They really do. When you look at the receiving core, the offensive line, the defensive line, their secondary, they've made some very good choices here in the draft. That defensive line has always been, I think, impressive to me. But you add a quarterback, and that's the thing that franchise has been lacking since who? Joe Namath, maybe? Or Boomer Esiason, maybe? But unbelievable. And a lot of big names like Matt Ryan being released by the Colts. He's out there now. Mm-hmm. I would say, why not take a flyer on him? Bring him to New England.
Well, I think
I would be happy to have a guy like that, because Brian Hoyer's not there anymore.
Yeah, Hoyer's gone, so they could bring in somebody who knows he's on the tail end of his career, but has abilities and has been in big games. And if Jones doesn't pan out this year, I don't know what'll happen to him. This will be his third year.
And then you got Jonnu Smith. The Patriots trading him away to the Falcons, where he's going to be rejoined with his former position coach in Tennessee, and Arthur Smith. And I think another big name that's coming to the AFC East, Jalen Ramsey. Mm-hmm. I always thought he was a heck of a player. Safety corner with the LA Rams, and now he's going to be coming to the Dolphins. Unbelievable. That defense was, I thought, stout already. Their quarterback situation still a little bit unsettled. Maybe they addressed that in the draft, but who knows how they go about doing that. And then the other big news too was earlier that the Chicago Bears trading away the top pick to the Carolina Panthers, who went out and got Andy Dalton. Mm-hmm. So I think they're looking to get a young quarterback with a veteran reserve, and then they'll have, their pieces in place. But what does Chicago do? What are they doing? What are they going to get?
I think the other big thing with Garoppolo going to Vegas, I think that's a good move for Vegas.
Oh, without a doubt. They were improved immeasurably.
They improved. Yeah. So, it'll be interesting. I think the Patriots got to make some moves, because I think right with the team that they have, as we see them on paper, are now still in the East,
They're
maybe
dropping.
third or fourth.
No doubt, Al.
You know.
I mean, you look at the pecking order right now, it's going to be the Bills, and then tied for second would probably be the Dolphins and the Jets.
Yeah, I would say the Dolphins and then the Jets.
And then the Jets?
It
Well,
depends if
depends
Jets
on
get
yeah.
Rodgers, and he'll make them a better team. There's no question about it. But
And so, they trade away the Patriots. What do they do? I mean, what's the biggest move they've made? They re-signed Jabril Peppers. They trade away Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, well.
And then they signed this guy, Calvin, I think Alexander, who was, or Anderson, I forget.
These are
I forget his last name.
moves that, okay. But
Yeah,
they're
they're moves that you see on the transaction wire.
yeah,
I mean,
they're not game-changing.
right.
moves.
They're not gonna stimulate the masses to go out and buy season tickets.
Yeah.
Getting Aaron Rodgers does. Getting a guy like that, will stimulate the masses, will move the needle. Right now, the Patriots look to be flatline, in my estimation. They're totally flatline, unless they come out and do something unbelievable. Lamar Jackson's out there. Al, what if you bring Lamar Jackson to Foxborough? What does that do?
Well, I mean, I think what the Patriots have done is they have always been a type of team that when they get to this, players get to this point
Yes,
where
Al.
they've been with them for a while,
Yes.
they let them go.
Right.
And so I don't think anybody wants to come here.
They don't pay players what they've earned
Right.
in their peak, because now they view them as assets that are going to be diminishing in value.
But they put a lot of emphasis on Jones, and they haven't given him the tools either through coaching or through receivers.
Or personnel.
Yeah,
around him,
personnel.
And now they're taking away a guy, or they've let a guy walk in Jacoby Myers, who was a productive player for them.
Yeah, I mean,
let's take away that dumb mistake he made against the Raiders. Okay,
Yeah, but
he'll probably never live that down.
That's a
But
minor
you know what?
thing. He was the best receiver they had in the last 3 years.
Correct.
So
Most reliable.
if
Most reliable.
Jones doesn't have, it doesn't matter if O'Brien comes in and helps him even a little. He needs to have somebody to throw the ball to that he can rely on. And unfortunately, right now it doesn't look like they have it.
They have some running backs who are
Yeah.
capable receivers. They have a couple of slot receivers, outside guys that may, but
Adequate tight ends, but not
you know what?
great.
So do you go out and get a tight end here in this draft? Because it's a plentiful draft with tight ends.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, a lot will happen. We'll know a lot more who the Patriots draft.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say this is where our need is, and it's not going to be the best player available, regardless of position.
Oh.
It's going to be
What they need.
what's going to help us
Right.
next year. Because he can't have another season where he doesn't make the playoffs. If he does,
Well, what did he
either is
go
gonna
get? He went and got
retire.
a guard. He went and got a guard, a guy that you could have gotten in the 5th round.
Yeah. Wow.
He would have been gotten in the 5th round, but they made him a 1st-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why. They think people were going to make a run, at this kid Strange out of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Nobody, everyone was scratching their heads. Everyone in Foxborough, everyone around the league was going, what's going on there with that pick? You had so many guys, sexier picks, yes, defensive players, a lot of guys out of Georgia who were like really good defensive players you could have added to this defense, which is going to be aging. You've already lost Devin McCourty, who opted to retire now, and that's going to leave a hole in that secondary. And I think that's why they went and re-signed Jabril Peppers.
Yeah.
But unbelievable, Al. A lot of moves being made now. We'll see more. What's happening now that free agency has begun in earnest, and so let's see what the Patriots do. What moves do they have? I hope they don't sit on their hands. I hope they don't do that.
Well, I don't think they can.
They can't afford to now. They can't afford to
because everybody in the East has gotten
it's
better.
getting better.
So
Yeah.
you stay where you are, and they didn't make it last year. Then and everybody's gotten better. Then
So Al,
it
what
tells you the gap.
brings you back? You got to go get a Lamar Jackson.
Well, they got to get somebody.
Right.
I know. What's his name? Rodgers already has said if he goes to the Jets, he wants Odell. He wants this one. He wants that one. He's already telling the Jets.
And you know what? The Jets are pushing all in
Yeah.
to make a Super Bowl run. If you get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you are in Super Bowl contention. You get him what he needs, and he'll probably get you there. You know, that's what the Bucs did with Tom Brady. That's what they did with him.
Well, that's what the Patriots are going to do with the. They're going to take
when they get him back. You heard it here first. But
you know,
while we ask questions about the Patriots, there are plenty of questions abound now about the Bruins, about the Celtics. But let's address the Bruins first, Al.
Well,
some disturbing losses of late. Including
disturbing
last night.
because of there's a number of things that are wrong with this team that have been wrong with this team for a lot longer than the record shows.
Right.
Because you got to remember, I mean, they went out at the start of the season with guys that were hurt, and they played terrific hockey. But playing terrific hockey in October, November, and December is not like playing great hockey now, because teams at the start of the season don't know what lines, what defensive pairings are going to be the ones that ultimately will get them there. And then, of course, free agency comes up and guys get added and whatnot.
Right.
So
I'm glad you
this
added that.
team from January 1st, other than the 10 games, even in that 10 games that they won in a row, they did not play well in a lot of those games. They found a way to win. And that doesn't sound like a Stanley Cup team to me. I think that two things I saw in the last three, they could have lost the game that they won against Detroit. They won that game 3-2.
Yes.
They could have lost that game. Detroit outplayed them.
Totally.
Then they lose in Detroit the next day and got outplayed big time. And then they got outplayed again by the 8th ranked team in that division, in a different division.
That is in a rebuild mode right now.
I mean, and if I hear, and I like Montgomery, but if I hear him say, well, you know, this is what happens with teams, that's not what happens with teams. Is you don't play against the bad teams as badly as the Bruins played. And I'll tell you one thing, Fulbert had a good season. He was horrible last night.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy beat him.
So do you ascribe that to an anomaly, an aberration?
No.
Or is it a disturbing trend that's happening?
Well, the trend that's disturbing is they're not checking. They're not all over the ice like they were before. If you look and see when, you know, we talked about Gretzky always going where the puck was going to be.
Yeah.
Well, that's what checking's all about. When you look and see where the puck is and who's the first guy that gets there quickest.
You got to get to
In
him.
all three of these last three games, it's Detroit, it's Chicago. It's the Bruins are not getting there quick enough. And what happens with that is you fall behind like they did in Detroit, 2-0, 2-0. They were behind again last night, 1-0. But now you're playing catch up. And then you make a mistake in the defensive zone, which is what they're doing.
Well, Al, I think they're making mistakes in the neutral zone, and their forecheck is faltering, and it's allowing the other team to get easy entries.
Yeah, but they're giving away the puck in the defensive zone.
And
like
then that leads to that. I think you have like a cascading set of events.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it is. I mean, the other thing that people forget about hockey, more than any other sport, it's an emotional game.
Yeah.
So here the team is winning 50. Everybody's talking about how this is going to be the greatest number of points ever by any team in the league.
And
these guys don't care about that. And I really believe that, not that they don't care, that's not what they want. They want to win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
And this team, right now, Montgomery's got to step back and say, listen, I want everybody to play every shift.
You know what? And I'm going to harken back to the conversation we had with our guests from last week, Joe McMahon and Sean McDonough. Thank you again for gracing us here with your presence. But something that stuck with me that Joe McMahon talked about when he was talking about their 1988 Milton High championship season, how there were expectations that kept rising.
Right.
And his thought was, let's just get through the season.
Yep.
This is the grind.
Yep.
They're like, let's get into the season that matters.
Well, I thought
because that's what they were playing for. And you know what, Al? I think that's maybe what's happening now with the Bruins, and maybe what's happening with the Celtics, is that now the season is getting to the point where it's a grind.
Well,
getting through each shift, through each
Charlie
period,
Coyle said it better than anybody in between periods. They asked him, what's going on? And he said, look, we didn't come out ready.
Yeah.
They didn't come out ready against Detroit, in Boston, and then again in Detroit. They didn't come out and play the first period like they have to play last night.
Well,
matter of fact,
there were a lot of chances to be had in that game.
I thought the Chicago game was the worst game that they played of all of them because they were not there.
And they expired at the end. They got the 3-2, and it's just like they exhaled, and they said, "Okay, we got this one." And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom.
Some of it's coming to bite because they've got the defenseman forward. I mean, when I say that, Connor Clifton was dead. He was so tired that guy went around him, skated right toward Ullman, and Ullman I thought
slipped it right through.
I thought he should have had that. But that's not the point. He's had a great season. The point was you got Connor Clifton in the zone. He's running around like a crazy guy, and all of a sudden the team is coming back, and he doesn't have the gas to stop him. Forbert just made the worst move I've seen a defenseman make. I mean, he took the guy's fake.
2-on-2, and all of a sudden
the guy went right by him and scored. So there's 2 goals.
Right. And they scored 4 when it was 3-2.
And the Bees were up 3-2.
And they scored 4.
But the Bees, if they play, and they've got 3 more games on the road. They got Winnipeg tomorrow night.
And here's
they could
the grind,
lose that
man.
game.
You are in the midst of the grind of the season.
And better teams now they're playing.
And they're going to get harder.
Yeah.
So now they got to win these games in order to kind of just like stabilize things. Yeah. Don't start lapsing into these errors.
I'll be very interested to see how
Forbort's probably not going to play
in the first period. No, I don't think so.
Forbort doesn't play.
I don't think so. I don't think Montgomery's the type of guy that's going to ever
punish a guy?
Showcase that he had a bad game and now he's not playing. He might not play 20 minutes. So we're going to see what happens here. I think what the Bees have to do against Winnipeg tomorrow night is come out in the first period and play hard. Charlie Coyle said it best, though. He said, "Look, we're not skating, we're not hitting, we're not back checking, we're not doing the things that we need to do, which made this team great."
Yeah.
I don't know.
They got to get it back, though.
And if you want to seg to
the Celtics now,
because the Bees
it's analogous too.
Very similar. Yeah. Because what's happening with the Celtics? One big difference, though. Celtics are not. They don't have the big guy.
Robert Williams III.
Robert Williams makes them a much better team.
I was happy to see him on the bench down in Houston. I think that had to do with the fact that he's from Houston and was probably visiting. But the thing is that
they're wearing.
You're absolutely right.
They're tired.
He's a
athlete.
missing cog right now. He's a rim protector. Probably alters a lot of shots. He might have altered a lot of those lane penetrations that the Rockets were getting. From guys like Jalen Green, and they probably don't attack the rim as much. And the Celtics maybe start to extend their defense and then turn them over, get off easy baskets, and that's how things turn. They walk down, big deficits that way is through their defense. But Al, I think some of the things that's happening at end of games, right? There are some good decisions being made, but then there's some not so good decisions being made. There was one, I think, and I'm pointing specifically at the fourth quarter of the Rockets game where it was a very tight game, very closely contested, but Rockets were still up. Celtics were fighting to get back to even. And there was a chance for them to do that. They only needed a 2. The ball comes down, Marcus Smart gets it, runs it down, chucks up a 3. And I'm sitting there, we didn't need that at that moment.
You don't need that when you're playing like they're playing.
And there was a sense of desperation in that
What he needs to say to these guys is, in a close game, in the third period, you definitely need to go to the basket.
Right.
You need to draw fouls. Even if you don't get the basket, you got to draw fouls.
And if you don't get a foul, don't cry about it. Yeah. Keep playing.
Well, don't flip it out to the guy who's in the corner for a 3, because a 3 is a 35 to 40% at best.
And little chance 35%. Of getting you to the foul line.
Well, when you're trailing, it's even harder to hit a 3 because you have to hit it.
Right.
When you're up, these guys are shooting them. I mean,
when you're up and you knock down a 3, it's a demoralizing basket.
It ruins it. I think
it's a dagger
relying
in the heart.
on the 3 can ruin the game.
Yeah.
A team that's trying to either get back in the game.
Yeah.
But when you're trailing by 9, 3 threes ties the game. The other one, you need 4 plus a foul to get 9.
Yeah.
So I understand the philosophy behind it. I don't understand why they don't go to the basket more than they do. and the game's kind of changed somewhat.
Yeah.
You know, but you look at what's happening with the Celtics. I think people kind of, if you look at what their record is, they're fourth or fifth best record in the East.
Yeah.
Since
they were at one point they were number one for a long time. Now they're starting to slide.
Down to fourth or fifth. If you look at the Bees, you know, all this talk about the best team.
Well, they got the President's Cup wrapped up.
Yeah, but
I'm worried about the curse of the President's Cup rearing its ugly head.
I'm not so sure. You know, they're up on Carolina. Could end up with the home court because they'll end up with a better record. Don't watch out for Carolina.
Yes.
If you look at the Bees in their division, I mean, Toronto's not going to catch them.
That's the one team that really just pushed them around.
Carolina. We knocked them out last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. This kid that they picked up from Washington.
Garnett Hathaway.
And
Orlov.
Well, I think Hathaway's more of a Bruin. And you know, Bertuzzi played fairly well. I mean, he's another guy that'll muck it up.
Yeah.
And he's hard on the puck, which I like.
Yeah.
Hathaway is definitely a Bruin though, because if he's right in front of the net and somebody pushes him around, he'll start something.
Yeah.
And I think that's good.
Yeah.
I do think though that this philosophy of passing and circling for the Bruins is getting to be a little tiring.
Well,
and then trying to get to Pasternak all the time.
Yeah.
They got
to move and pass, but don't stay stationary. You know, find the open spots. I think against the Blackhawks and even to some degree against the Red Wings, there were some opportunities that were missed where they had open looks. I think one where maybe Bertuzzi was trying to thread it through a centering pass to Pasta. Pasta couldn't get to it, but he had a wide open back door.
The problem with Pasta is if you set him up where he likes to be, he's got to be perfect. Yeah. He's got a great shot. The problem with him is when he spins, he tries to put it through, he gets a little too fancy, then he loses it. Now you got a breakaway. Yeah. And I'll tell you one, they're hurt, where they're really hurting is Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
See, because Hall's all over the ice.
Yes.
He's a tough kid. He's a back checker. Charlie Coyle is like that, but
if you get both of those guys online, you have a line can make a difference.
If Charlie Coyle shot more,
oh yeah,
I mean that would be I think
I love how he's strong on the puck,
but he's very strong on the puck, and so is Taylor Hall. Yeah. And I think it's underrated as to how much the Hall injury has affected him. The other kid,
I like this pairing on the ice when you have Coyle, Hall, and I don't know who would be the other wing in that.
Well, I mean, you had
Bertuzzi maybe on
Bertuzzi,
that. But so and then matched up with the deep pairing of Lindholm and McAvoy.
I'd put Hathaway in that.
Hathaway's a good one, yeah.
Because those three guys are going to give you everything.
And then you're going to have backup from that defensive decor that's going to be engaged.
Nobody wants to play against Hathaway and Marchand and guys like that. They don't want to play against them because these guys will do what they have to do to get the puck. And right now the Bruins look like they're on a Sunday skate. Too bad there isn't an arrow that says go this way, because that's what they're doing. They're flying all around, and they never shoot. I've never seen a puck go in when you don't shoot it on the net.
No? You never seen one bounce off somebody?
I mean, God forbid. I mean, when a guy breaks in all alone and he shoots it over the goalie's head and doesn't get it on net.
Unbelievable.
That to me is stupid.
Yeah.
All you have to do is shoot it. If the guy makes the save, fine. If he doesn't,
in 5-hole, oftentimes it will go through.
Yeah, well, plus you can get a rebound.
Yeah.
But if it goes over the guy's head into the net.
Yeah, someone's trying to roof it. Like Bertuzzi almost had that one goal. I mean, if he scores that goal, I think it's a difference maker.
Well, the other thing that you got to be mindful of, and I watched this, is that they're not winning draws. I mean, even Bergeron is not winning draws.
That's hard work, Al.
And if you're in the zone,
hard work to win a draw.
Well, I mean, Bergeron was a 60%er. He's not 60 this year recently. If you don't win the draw in the defensive zone when the other team's offense is there, you're in trouble because the puck comes back to the point and they get a shot on net.
It's amazing how we just segged back to the Bruins here.
Well,
But, Al, let's talk a little bit about the NCAA basketball tournament. It's March Madness, Al. You know, we've got a lot going on. We got the state basketball tournament going on. You know, we're kind of watching Archie's because of our friends who were here last week. And
My
we wish
son
them well.
graduated
But
from Archie's.
we're hoping to see some exciting basketball in the NCAA tournament. Al, who do you have winning it all?
Yeah.
Is that a loaded question?
That's a loaded question. I'll tell you on the Archie's. Archie's playing Cardinal Spellman tonight. And
So by the time we air,
they played them twice
will
during
have-
the year, and they won both kind of handily. But that doesn't mean anything.
No.
But if Archie's wins, and then they have one more game after that, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
On the NCAA, you know what? I haven't seen enough of the teams. You know, I have to see the teams play to get a sense of who's best.
Yeah.
I mean, other than reading about them, and because you don't really get a
Well,
sense.
I got a rooting interest in the University of Texas.
Yeah,
I'm going to be rooting for them. Sending the malocchio to everybody else.
Well, see, if he's voting, if he's pulling for Texas, then we might have a bet.
But I
can get to Steel and Rye again for 50.
I also am looking forward to seeing Purdue, Al. There are, I think a lot of people are looking at Purdue as a possible, contender. And the other side too, on the women's side, I'm interested to see how South Carolina does. You know, there's a lot of strong women's teams out there. South Carolina has been the standard bearer. One of their best players, a girl named Aaliyah Boston, who played at Worcester Academy. She's probably going to be an Olympian again and maybe get a gold medal in addition to she's going to be probably one of the more decorated basketball players maybe since Lisa Leslie, I think, when it's all said and done. You know, because she'll probably go on to play a long and productive career in the WNBA. We're knocking on wood for that for her. Possibly win a championship too, you know.
One of the funny things about Boston, though, is Boston's a pro team town.
Yeah.
And if you have both of your pro teams at this time of the year, like the Celtics and the Bruins are both
They're relevant out.
leading.
They're
Let me put it that
relevant.
way. They're both very relevant.
Yeah.
Then people take their eye off of college. I don't care what it is. College basketball, NCAA,
And hockey, yeah.
and Boston's a hockey town.
It is.
It's
It
definitely
is,
a hockey town. But what I mean is, it's a pro town. I mean, very few cities have, like the Celtics, the Bruins, the Patriots, and the Red Sox. Now on the Red Sox, just quickly because we're running out of time. Chris Sale had another good outing.
Encouraging.
Well, whether he starts,
But he's not going to be the day one starter, according to Alex Cora.
That's what Cora said. No, which I think is the smart thing to do. You don't want to put him in a pressure point on the first game. But we're only talking 2 weeks and
unbelievable.
They'll be starting.
Unbelievable.
Watch the Yankees. They're now hitting
their
I
moon
think
shots
750 home runs in spring training.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, and we'll chat more about that next time when we convene here, stepping up to the plate. All righty, everybody. Want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank my main man, Al Prizzuti, for lending us his insight and his wisdom, and we look forward to joining you next time here on Stepping Up to the Plate. So long. Take care.